Jason, what are you playing?
A lot of games, but we're only going to talk about a couple. So I want to start with The Outer Worlds. I played that. Yeah. Laura's sister got it for me for Christmas and started that guy on PlayStation. Pretty fun. I feel like you guys probably talked about how much I like Fallout on this podcast at least once, but I have played all of the games. This is by Obsidian, and a lot of the people that made the original Fallout games, and more recently, a lot of the team that made New Vegas for PS3 and Xbox and PC. So it has that same sort of vibe, and I feel like the definition of Fallout in space is pretty accurate. It's similar to that. So it has that sort of sense of humor, the search things to get guns and trinkets and upgrade yourself sort of gameplay. And it looks really nice. So you can see from the trailer here, like it's fairly pretty. But I always liked these types of games, Fallout in particular, for kind of the fun atmosphere that you build in the world. And I've played maybe 6 or 7 hours so far because we had to go on our vacation, but it's pretty good. And they make a world that feels like you're dropped into this world that actually has stuff happening in it, where like they don't tell you everything, and so you feel like I'm experiencing the story. Like things will happen, you're like, what does that mean? Because like they don't tell you. Like you have to go figure out because this world actually lives and breathes around you, and that's pretty fun. But that being said, there's some things that aren't quite what I wanted it to be. I feel like the combat is a little weak. It just feels pretty basic. Like nothing is really challenging just yet. But again, I am only on like the 3rd or 4th planet, so we'll see. But if you like these types of games, I mean, I would say if you enjoyed Fallout, if you enjoyed New Vegas, or if you like an RPG Skyrim-ish type of game, it's right up there for you. And yeah, it's pretty solid.
Now, what if I think Fallout 76 is the greatest Bethesda game of all time? How will I react to The Outer Worlds?
Well, you specifically mean Fallout 76?
Yes.
Yeah. I think you'll still enjoy this game because it's similar, but I feel like you'll think that this game is more streamlined because there's less stuff. Like 76 is an okay game. Like there's nothing wrong with the game, the idea of that game. I just feel like in execution it didn't work out that well. Mm-hmm. But this game looks like this game is like, how to describe this? I feel like if there's a formula you want to have, like both of those games are on the opposite end of where they should be. They just don't quite get what the other one is like lacking, and vice versa. So like this game has a good storyline, and it has characters that progress the story forward and some fun quirkiness to it. Whereas I feel 76, it doesn't quite have that, but it does have pretty intricate combat. It has a lot more like funness to do outside of talking with people. So if that's what you really like for 76, you probably won't enjoy this game as much. But I mean, I know you're trying to be joking and stuff for like 76. So I feel like if you actually enjoyed any of the other Fallout games, 3 and onward, you will like this game.
Okay.
I was like, man, Jason's actually answering this question.
Yeah, that was, man, I kind of felt like a jerk for asking a joke question there, but
yeah, you jerk. No, I feel you. I think that like 76 has so much potential, and they just keep dropping it so many times that it's very, very frustrating. But I don't know. Regardless, like we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, Fallout fans that really wanted a Fallout 5, you essentially have Fallout 4.5 right now.
Great.
Yeah. Mm. So I played Outer Worlds. I actually beat Outer Worlds. That was one of the other games that I beat while I was off.
Nice.
And it's the one thing I like about it is that you can do things pretty much any way you want to do them. Like you don't really have to fight almost at all in this game.
Yeah.
You can raise like your charisma and your charm and all this kind of stuff and talk your way through most of the game.
Yeah, so I noticed that too, because I felt like in I think it was more so in Fallout 3, there was lots of times where you would have like high charisma, charm, persuade, whatever, and you would get those skill trees in conversation, but then it would end with you killing someone. And I'm like, well, whatever. But in this game, it's kind of like, no, I just convinced him to like turn off that power plant, and like that whole level is done. I'm like, okay, so it's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Randy,
I like those choices.
Yeah.
Randy says this looks up his alley. I know he's a big fan of Fallout. And then he says I should have bought this instead of Disco Elysium.
I've heard that's
that
really good.
Yeah. Had I played it, it might have been a game of the year.
Yeah.
We're doing that whole thing again.
Yes. Yeah.
Did we ever stop?
Yeah. The only Bethesda game I've played was Skyrim, and I loved Skyrim, but I never felt the urge to play Fallout or any of the other Bethesda games since. But watch it, like getting the B-roll for this, I was like, oh, this actually looks really cool. I might have to check this out.
Yeah. I think I would definitely say I liked Fallout from the original Fallout in 2 because the story was really, really cool and engaging. So this doesn't have that because it's actually not related, at least not yet. But I mean, it's a great start for a kind of fun world. I mean, you have space; it's like a limited possibility. So there's hopefully that bright future for them.
Yeah.
All right, and Randy says, I want to like Disco Elysium, except so much of the dialogue is dense diatribes and about philosophy and communism.
But that's what you bought the game for, right?
That sounds amazing. Yeah. I would play it.
So it's a dense diatribe and philosophy simulator? Sounds great.
Right on the back of the box.
That's my favorite genre.
Yeah.